Hello, I am Blaze Bayley. You are listening to Sonic Perspectives, probably the best perspective in the world.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another interview of Sonic Perspectives. I'm Rodrigo, and my guest today is the king of metal and the man who would not die, the one and only Blaze Bayley. Blaze, great to have you with us.
Hello, thanks for having me on your perspective. Thanks
My
for
ple-
getting me in perspective.
my pleasure, man. Well, it's my first time interviewing you, and we have a lot to cover. But let me start by asking you the upcoming album, War Within Me.
Yeah.
The title is heavy and intense, but I found the album to be relentlessly optimistic, right?
Well, yeah, it's a theme that we've carried through the album. We had some ideas. I said to my manager a couple of years ago, well, he said to me, when can I expect your next studio album? And I said, I need 2 years, man, because we just finished this trilogy. We put our heart and soul into it. Every bit of energy and creativity that we had was on that trilogy. So I said, I need 2 years. So, okay. And he found a way to get us through that. We did live albums, which I wanted to do when we bought out, re released, and had anniversary editions of 10th Dimension. And as we got closer, there was a couple of ideas I wanted. A couple of true stories about heroes. I'm always interested in scientists and science and how things work. And the we came back from South America in February, and then that was it. It was the start of all of the problems,
Yeah.
and then the final gig was Burfest in March, which we thought would be cancelled, but that was the last show for a lot of bands.
Hmm.
Never played after that. I played one of the last shows in Europe, really, the last live concerts, and then we were always going to record in 2020. That was our plan, to do less touring, do our writing and recording and our festivals, and bring out the album, get the album finished by the end of the year for a release. But what happened was, of course, that something got postponed, then the
Mm.
next thing got postponed,
Yeah.
then postponement, then it was cancelled, then it was. So what happened was, we started our writing, and then something would be postponed or cancelled. Terrible, terrible tragedy for us. But oh well, now we've got a little bit more time
Mm.
with the album. Uh, a festival goes, and we got so many lovely festivals booked. I mean, things we're very excited about doing, and that goes. But on the other side, that's 3 extra days that we have to spend on the album, and also to spend away from the album quietly, and then come back to it. And for me, I have a personal relationship with a few of my fans, and we're on first name terms. People that have supported me and bought everything, no matter what, come to every show that I've done, and bought every t-shirt from every tour, no matter what, through thick and thin, through good and bad. And I started to think, well, I don't just want this to have a few positive songs about heroes on. I want this to be a really positive album. And I spoke to Chris about it, And of course, we have this vast amount of experience now from the trilogy, from making things fit together. And I said, Chris, I want this to be positive. I want this to be, when you get to the end of the album, you go, oh, thank goodness it's the Blaze Bayley album. Oh, you get to the end, and I want you to feel better than you did at the beginning, or I want you to hate it completely because it's so metal and so traditional metal that there's nothing new or groundbreaking on it at all. It is just a vibe, a passion about saying, come on, let's take our future in our own hands. And you feel hopeless and you feel down and you feel broken. Well, I felt that way too. Let's take a step together. Let's get back to our knees together. Let's get back on our feet together. Let's do this together. My fans are taking me and putting me in their head. And they're putting me in their car and traveling with me. They're putting me on their hi-fi. They're putting me in their bedroom late at night in the dark. Now, when I'm there, what am I going to say? And that's what I was thinking to myself. And each step of the way, Chris and I searched for the appropriate things. Right. Okay. Have we got the lyric? What key is this in to get this tone of voice on this lyric, and which is the most effective place for the voice to sing this melody? Should this be a vocal melody or should this be screaming guitar? And these were the conversations, and Chris just does a fantastic job. I am an absolute arsehole. I'm an arsehole. I'm the worst person that you could possibly write a record with. And Chris is fantastic at what he does. But I think the thing that he does most of all, the thing that makes him a real hero, he puts up with me till the end of an album. You know, I think when Chris gets to the end of the album, Chris Appleton, he goes, I survived another Blaze Bayley album. Because I'm like, and he keeps his nerve and he keeps his patience, and we work on these things together, man. It's bit by bit. Sometimes they take days, sometimes it's weeks, sometimes you have a flash of inspiration, a few minutes, bang, we've got it. The worst thing is, well, we look at it in my studio, and we're looking at each other. He's on his workstation with the music software, and I'm on my workstation with the lyrics and everything, and listen through to the demo and go, I go, that's really good. Okay, I think that one's done. And then there's quiet, and then Chris will say, well, I'm sorry to say this, mate, but I think we need a better chorus, or we need somewhere. I'm like, what? No! Then we're searching, and then it could come in 5 minutes, or it could be 5 weeks later. Oh, you just don't know, man. Oh, it's terrible. So it's details. It's a lot of fun, a lot of work. The overriding thing for me, I had the picture in my mind of my fans at home struggling the same as I was. And I thought, I have a duty to my fans. I have to make this album positive. I have to create something that when people get it, they go, oh, I need something to help me through. The Blaze Bayley album, war within me. That's what I'm here. And that's wake up. That's go to the gym. That's start. That's one more step. That's getting it right. That's what I wanted it to be. So that was strong. If it does that, I'll be so pleased if it does that on even one of the songs. So I'm very, very lucky, and I know I am. I'm so lucky, and I'm so grateful to my fans around the world. They've bought things directly from my shop. They've bought the t-shirts that they would have bought if I've been on tour anyway. They've supported me so much. They have made this new album possible. They have made it possible for me to continue my dream of living as a full-time heavy metal musician and singer. So I'd say the biggest part of this album is the support from my fans around the world. It's been incredible over the years and through this year. The messages I've had, the support that I've had from everybody, it's been absolutely fantastic.
That's awesome. And on my first listens, just like you said, it seems it's a more straight ahead metal album than the trilogy. Was it an easier process for you coming off of a heavy subject or a heavy theme like the trilogy to write this one,
Well,
or?
yeah, there was a certain amount of freedom, and we were a bit more relaxed because the trilogy had, well, we had more than 34 songs, but it ended up around 34 songs, I think it was. And each one of those songs had to make sense with the central theme and had to be able to relate to each other. And each time we had, where are we in the story? Are we true to the story? Who is this character? Why is he doing it? And of course, we had a choir. We used piano sometimes. We had
Violin.
backing voices. We had, violin, acoustic guitar, classical guitar, lots of different elements to give that the color and intensity and dynamic that it needed to tell this huge story. So when we got to this album, I think it's 11, studio album 11, I think. So we got to this one and we go, we're writing some songs and none of them have to relate to any other song. What we can just do one song each one. We just have to relate. There's no characters. There's nothing. So that was good. That felt quite liberating. We love doing the trilogy, and I'm so proud of it. It's my greatest achievement in music, but it was very liberating to go, we're writing this song. What's it called? 18 flights. Right. It's about the earthquake on the tour. Bang. That's it. It's not about anything else. Does not to connect. Some of the songs about that. That's it. So that felt really good. And some of the ideas started that we have are really old. Well, I say really old, couple of years old. We've had them in the vault for a while. We bring them out. They didn't fit with the trilogy. We put them back in. Okay, we'll save that. See how we feel about it later. Or we didn't like them, and then we look at them in a new light a couple of years later and go, actually, if it went there, I think it could work. So we did that, and Stephen Hawking, the unstoppable Stephen Hawking, was originally the Hawk, and the chorus that we had for that ended up being a small part in the middle with a totally new part. It's just an incredible evolution that it took. It was a slow start. It was a fast start. It was a fast song. It was a slow song. It slowed down in the middle. It just all sorts that we did before we played it back and went, no, it's done. It's done. And those were golden moments, but scary moments, because you go, okay, it's done. Yeah, now that's it. Now we start the other side of the production, which is getting the drums involved and the bass parts and all of that. And it's the first album where I never rehearsed with the band.
Mhm.
And it's good that we had this very strong working relationship. We made 3 albums together, and you know, we got this. Everybody can just about put up with me, and it worked really. Martin sent, we sent, right, I want this kind of thing, what can you give me? And Martin McNee has a great groove, and that's what we want. That was the most important thing about what we got from Martin. He would send things back. It would just kind of, we'd send him a drum pattern and say, this is what I'm thinking, see what you can do with it. And he'd send us something back to, yeah, and you start tapping your foot. Oh yeah, it's good, you know. So that was a good side of it, but it
Mhm.
was a weird thing. And of course, you think something's finished, and then there's this nervousness and anxiety that takes over
Mm.
because only you know about it.
Right.
And maybe a couple of members of the team have heard it, and they can't, they nobody can be negative about it, really. Everybody kind of has to be
Agree with you.
chilly, you
Yeah.
know. There's like one member of the team who I don't ask his opinion often because he always tells the truth. And I say, and so I get stuck. I go, all right, Rich, listen to this. Tell me what you think. And it'll come back. It'll go, no, it's good. Oh, yeah. Or it'll be, oh, I got really bored in the middle of the whole. No! So that's
Right.
it. And then it's an anxiety and a waiting because outside of the team, then you think you've done your best work. You're still not sure how will people interpret what we have done. What will it do? It's emotion.
Mhm.
We have chosen these emotions. We have tried to get you, the listener, to feel a certain way. We have reached into your ear, gone down, got the heart, pulled it out the ear, blown on it, and put it back in, feeling a bit better. We hope. But has it worked? You just don't know.
Right.
And when the first few people outside the team listen to it and they say they like it or they mention a couple of parts, it's just like, oh, it's such a relief, man. Such a relief. Because you can't write. We don't write to say, right, we'll do something that we think people will like.
Mm.
That's not what it is. My fans support me, and it's a kind of sacred contract. You do what you do, you put your feelings down. That's what I want from Blaze Bayley. I want honesty of your feelings, of your interpretation, of your emotions. And so that's what we try and do. We can't worry about if anybody likes it when we're
Exactly.
making it. Yeah, we can't go, oh, but will the fans like this? Oh, will they understand? We can't do that. We go, is this a good bit? Do I feel it's good? Do you feel it's good? Do we feel great about it? Are we standing up singing it? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, then we hope the fans will like it
Yeah.
because it's true, it's truth, it's passion, it's what we feel. And so far, we're very, very lucky that most people who are outside of the team have actually enjoyed the album. And for me, I only want 2 reactions. One, I want some people to absolutely hate it and say it's awful and the worst album ever. And then I know that I've made a real heavy metal album. And then I want my fans to love it as much as my other albums. So that's all, really.
Right.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
And if you hate it, all I'm asking is that you lie about it for a year and just give me a chance.
Right. Let me reassure you, as a fan, that I enjoyed it very much. And you mentioned the gym. I mean,
Woo!
I run listening to albums, and this one is a great fuel for my run. So
Oh, thank you. I
yeah,
thought you were going to say then you run listening to albums, and this one made you trip up and fall over.
it did not, for sure not. Right. But I think you mentioned that you don't make concessions when you write. The only time where I think you think of, what's the reaction going to be is when you write the chorus. For example, on Pull Yourself Up, where there's a chorus that you can definitely hear the crowd singing live on stage. So there's that care and attention to detail there, where there has to be like a massive chorus here and there, right?
Well, what happens is, yeah, this is something I learned in Iron Maiden from Steve Harris. I
Mm,
was so lucky to have that experience. And Steve and Yannick and the rest of the guys, I learned so much. I would take ideas to Steve and he would say, that is great, we can use that. I would take other ideas and he would say, that would work if we do it like this. And other ideas, you go, that's never going to work.
uh,
So what I learned was it's actually possible to get the idea that's in your head into rehearsals and onto an album. The way that if you work hard, if you're smart, and if you don't compromise. And a lot of times Steve would look at me because he got this incredible experience of thousands of gigs, must be by now, live. And he would go to me, he would go, when we do this live, this bit's going to be great. And I think, I can't see that. I don't see that. And then yeah, there we are live doing Sign of the Cross. And it's at the, oh yeah, it is, yeah. So you have this thing. I'm very lucky. You have this thing. You have the experience to go. Oh, this bit live. This bit would be great. The chorus is something that we're lucky, and it's hard work. Some come with inspiration. Some it's just work and work and work. Going. That's one of the things that Chris Appleton and I is in our style of writing. We won't give up. We will keep going on an idea, even if we're bored to death, sick of the idea, even if we hate it, we will keep going on it until we get it the way we want to. And that's hours, days, weeks, we don't care, but we'll keep going. And
mhm.
so getting to the chorus, for me, there's two parts of it. One is, will I be able to sing this with my fans? That's the first part. And the second part is, am I going to be bored to death after the third show? Am I gonna be going after the third show? Am I gonna be going, oh, not this again? And that's where I am. So we're working in this way. It's like, yeah, it's good, but could he also do this? Can he do that? There, can he do that? So something like Pull Yourself Up, we've done it. We're there rehearsing it in the studio, at home, and singing it together and singing it at each other, doing it loads of times, going over it. No, do it again. Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, it's good. It's good. Oh, maybe, and that's it. And then then it's like you've done it and rehearsed it enough times before you record it to know you're really going to enjoy doing this live.
Right.
And every song that we have written for this album, every single one can be played live with no problem whatsoever. We did that with the trilogy, but we bought a live arrangement, not the studio
Mhm.
arrangement. But with this one, it's really basic. It is right. Guitars, bass, drums, vocal. There we go. That's it. We have the elements of heavy metal. That's what we have. Now, let's see what we can do. We tread a narrow path, But gods, Ronnie James Dio has trod this path before us. Tony Iommi has trod this path before us. Robert Plant has trod this path. Jimmy Page has been here. Jimi Hendrix has been here. So we will tread this path and we will fight. We will tread that path and we will come out with it. And that's it, man. That's what it was. So it was a lot, but every one of them was a story and a journey. And not all the songs will make sense the first time you hear it. So Witch's Night that's darker. They're probably the darkest song, because at its core, it is something that I touch on often in my lyrics. It's an anti-suicide message. And at my concerts, I say, live here in this moment right now. Allow yourself to forget everything outside this room. Be here with me now in this room at this concert. Don't allow anything else. You can't do anything about it. Whatever happening outside, you can't do nothing about it, except if it's an earthquake and then you've got to run for your life. So you can't do it. So be here. And that's the core message of Witch's Night.
Right.
Is when you're in those dark times, and this isn't easy. I don't say it's easy. I don't say it's easy, but it's where I've been.
Mm-hmm.
That sometimes in that darkness and in that misery, perhaps you can find a thought that is beautiful from your life, and you can stay in that thought while you heal and get ready to face the world again. Perhaps you can make that moment your whole life, and make your whole life just now, just this moment. No future, no past, just make it now. And that's the darkness and the optimism of Witch's Night.
Every Storm Ends has kind of a similar theme as well. It's a message of hope, right, towards the end of the album.
The true story.
Uh,
I was going through a terrible time. My relationship was over, and I came back from the tour, and I was living alone. That was it. I was on my own, and it was just horrible time. And there is a storm with my name on it. And there is for all of us at some point in our life. And I didn't think I would get through that. And there's many things that I just didn't think I would be able to get through. But I was in the storm, and the storm will pass. There will always be a dawn after the dark. And sometimes it's as simple as just holding on. And that's what Every Storm Ends is about. It's holding on through this horrible emotional situation and having to face up. And that's how I felt. Those are my feelings. And I know that talking to my fans, they appreciate when I do share my feelings, when I do open myself up, and when I do say, look, this is me, this is how I felt, then they understand it, and it means more to them to know that, well, we all have these emotions. I'm not special. I'm not better than anybody else. I'm just the same as everybody else. The only thing that makes me different is I'm more lucky than anybody else, because I have incredible support from these wonderful people. I'm just luckier. But we all go through the same problems. We all have the same difficulties. We all have these challenges. There are times for all of us when we don't want to get out of bed and we wish the world would disappear and we'd want everything just to be about us. But
Yeah.
that can't last. And this, I suppose, was me getting through it. And I had these notes that I'd made, and it was one of the very first songs that Chris and I worked on. And it was a bit of, we did almost everything on my old acoustic guitar. And he started picking at something. I had these couple of words, and we had a verse and a chorus part together. And I just, yeah, this is something. And it was one, if not the hardest song to finish, because the demo that we did, just the acoustic guitar and the vocal performance was just like a conversation. And it was so natural that when it came to record the final vocal for the song, we had about 10 different versions. We go, oh, and it's like, it's too aggressive. Okay. It's too soft. And then, oh man, round and round and round. And then it's like, you know what? Let's go back to the demo. What did I do on the demo? How did I do that? And why aren't we getting back to that thing? And we just went round and round. And then Chris just said, right, forget everything. Absolutely forget everything. Just bury yourself now. I'm going to record you 3 times and just sing the song 3 times as if you're singing it to a fan, just in front of you, telling them about it. And that's what I did. And that was the final vocal. It was a struggle, man. We wrestled with it because, as well, because it was filled with emotion, it also made us second guess. Oh, is that right? Is this the best version? Is this the right place for the journey? Oh man, it was tough. But in the end, the result is incredible. And what happened was we're struggling with the order of the album, but this is amazing. This is the first time I've been able to record an album, and the vinyl is the most important part because it's the first CD at the same time. So we have the list of the songs, and what we go, right, what's side A, what's side B, what's the end of side 1, what's the start of side 2. Oh man, it was just incredible. Wonderful thing. When we thought about the artwork, we could think about the big artwork getting shrunk down, not about little artwork getting blown up. So it was really cool. And when we put the 3 scientists together and every storm ends at the end, it all makes sense. It's like, and then War Within Me is the opening track, and we wrestled with the start. Oh, we'll have this little bit of thing building up before it, and then it'll start. Oh, we'll have these drums going under it. It's like, and we kept going, and as the mix was going on, I said, no, man, it's what we're gonna have is Holy Diver. We rock is what we need. We need to be Black Sabbath. We just need to have a big riff at the start that goes, this is heavy metal.
Awesome.
Wow, with that man, play the metal, and that's it. And I was like, and Chris is, and I'm going, we need to get that guitar at the start up a bit, Chris. And he's going, I said, we've got to get it up. I said, when this comes out of people's speakers in their car, they've got to think they've been crushed by a meteorite or a comet from space. So you start driving, you go, oh, I'll just put the CD on, splat, fucking, oh, what's happened? That's what's
Right.
going on. And he was, oh, and anyway, he did it. He didn't want to do it, but he did it. And of course, it was when you put it on, you hear it, you haven't heard it for a while, and you put it on, you go, bloody hell, what's
Yeah.
it's me, yeah.
Right.
So it was, I didn't really care about being nice. I didn't care if it fitted. I didn't care about reaching out, being commercial, about broadening my appeal. I like the fans I've got. I'm not really after a lot of new fans. I just want to keep the fans that I have, the people that have supported me. If other people like me, that's great. But when this album comes on and goes into the ears, into the brain, and down to the heart of Blaze Bayley fans, I want them to feel like gods.
Right, right. Tell me about the mini trilogy that you have there, where you talk about three scientists: Alan Turing, Nikola Tesla, and Stephen Hawking. What's the common element between these three guys, aside from being great scientists, of course?
Well, I'd thought about it. Kind of, it's the advantage that I had of having time
Mm,
after the trilogy to just let ideas naturally come out. And I wanted to do a couple of things about real characters and heroes. And Nikola Tesla is a very unusual person.
yeah.
And in basically, the motor that he invented and three-phase electricity is just incredible. The relationship between magnetism and electricity, it's changed the world,
Hmm.
and just incredible. And he had incredible ideas. The thing that I wanted to focus on was the telepathy of Nikola Tesla, because when he was very young, then he had a dream of a water wheel and Niagara Falls.
Oh, wow.
And years later, he's living in America. He's working for Westinghouse. They're at the big trade show and they get the contract to build the first ever hydroelectric plant at Niagara Falls.
Wow.
And Westinghouse is saying to all of the engineers, well, how does it work? And they're saying, we don't know exactly. Nicola wouldn't tell us. And the equipment that he designed is a lot of it was the biggest thing ever done, 10 times bigger than what anybody had done in the past. And it was that dream coming true that was the inspiration. And he wanted to give everybody in the world free electricity. He wanted to make power available to everybody for free, wherever they were. And I think that, well, that was a possibility, you
Mm.
know. So I wanted to put that into a song, and that that was it. And it was a challenging song. We had this lovely theme going, which started lovely theme. And I came into the studio one morning and I said, where's the theme gone? Where's the Tesla theme? Oh, was that Chris goes, I didn't think that was important. No!
He erased it, or?
And then, so I'm like, no! So we got that back, which is the key for me, was the key to the song, but it wasn't for Chris. And we got the chorus, and we got one line of the chorus, and which felt great. And then we had nothing else. So I was repeating this one line. I was sick of it, man. Absolutely sick of it. I'm like, this can't be it. And Chris was going, well, maybe it goes there, maybe it goes here. And I'm like, but where's the rest of the lyrics? And oh man, it took ages to do it. Absolutely, just looking at my computer. But what, you know, what? It's like trying to, what rhymes with orange? Nothing. And there's nothing. It's like nothing seemed to work for Tesla. I'm like, no. And you know what? That's the character of the man. He was an awkward, difficult person by all accounts that I've read about him. An awkward, difficult person, but a genius. And so we pursued it and kept going. And then, I don't know, I'll be here at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then, and then it would come. And then we got the chorus, but it was, oh man, that was so tough. But the result, of course, I'm so proud of. Then the Enigma code is the code that the Nazis were using in World War II to communicate with the submarines that were sinking all of the shipping in the Atlantic that was supplying the food for the UK. Alan Turing cracked that code, and you can argue that without his contribution, which of course was top secret and nobody knew about until years after the war with freedom of information, without that contribution, without him breaking that code, maybe Great Britain would not have survived and would have been invaded, you know, because if we're in a stranglehold, or not, my grandparents, you know. So he is the godfather of modern computing because he invented and made a computer to crack the code. It'd never been made before. It came out of his head, and they moaned about how it's so incredible, really. And the Turing test is what people have to do to prove that AI is here. And the point of the Turing test, what you have to do, the machine must deceive a human into thinking that the machine is human. Now, here we are, we're using technology, we're using computers, things that when I started in music just did not exist. This was impossible when I started. You know, this was on Star Trek and that was it. You know, nobody believed this would happen. But here we are, we're using the technology.
Yeah.
So AI is coming. People are racing towards artificial intelligence in the same way that people raced towards nuclear weapons and the first atomic bomb. What happens when AI arrives? Elon Musk is talking about this. He's warning about it. What happens when AI actually arrives? What's going to happen? Is it going to be Skynet? Are we going to have Terminators? Will we have Colossus taking over the world and saying, well, look what a mess you've made. If you just did this, it would be okay. And now I'm in control. You are going to do it.
Yeah.
But here is the real danger. The Turing test says the machine must deceive the human.
You're right.
So, in the end, how will we know? Because the Turing test says the machine must deceive. So, we won't know. This is my prediction. This is my warning. We won't know when AI is achieved because the machine will be so smart, it will know that it has to deceive us. And so it will deceive us into thinking it is not alive. That is
Right.
what could happen, and that's my prediction for the future. In 50 years, machines will have lied themselves into control.
Might not
And
even
that's
take
it.
too long. Might not even
No,
take that long.
yeah,
We'll see.
it might not take that long.
We'll
So
see.
that's the Alan Turing.
Yeah.
And then Stephen Hawking, the unstoppable Stephen Hawking. I wanted to celebrate the man, not the scientist, not the achievements, not the physics or any of that. Because for me, the most important part of his story, the thing that makes Stephen Hawking a hero, is he was suffering from motor neuron disease, and the doctor said, you've probably only got 3 years to live. 49 years later, he's doing a lecture on stage with a crippled, withered body. He can't even speak,
Right.
but he's there doing a lecture. Hundreds of people listening to him because he refused to accept that. Just he got, I haven't got time. I've got too much to do. I've got to get on with my work. I have all these things to do. And that's how he was. And so what he did was impossible. It was literally impossible for most people to actually learn to write and communicate, write a book using your eye movements and your mouth. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
It can't be done. But he did it anyway, even
He
though it was
did.
impossible. He did it anyway. That's a hero. Stephen Hawking said, think about the things that you can do, not the things you can't do.
Right.
And 49 years, man, he lasted. And that's what I wanted to pay tribute. The unstoppable Stephen Hawking. Just a huge, the courage,
Yeah.
the defiance, the battle that he had. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And I hope, my song is a tiny, tiny tribute to a magnificent, incredible personality, a tough, tough man that survived. He achieved the impossible.
Yeah.
For most normal people, what he did was impossible. I
I
think for
love.
most geniuses, what he did was impossible, because
Oh yeah.
most geniuses aren't trapped inside a body that doesn't work.
Yeah. I love the line. They don't know everything.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
him telling to the scientists or the
The
doctors, right?
doctor, yeah,
Yeah.
that's it, and that's something that's happened to me in my own life.
Mm.
That when I saw Ronnie James Dio in Birmingham when I was a young man, and he changed my life. And I from that moment, really, I was never the same. And I
Mhm.
wanted to be a heavy metal singer. And I've been so lucky in my life, to have the incredible experiences I've had, the journey that I've had. I am a full-time heavy metal singer. I am a full-time songwriter, and I'm so lucky. And I go back, that young man, and people said, you can't sing, you're never going to make it. Why don't you give up? All of these things, as if they knew the future.
They don't
Well,
know
they
everything,
don't
right?
know. They don't know. And what my very, very dear friend she went to the doctors, and the doctor said, you must go straight to hospital. The ambulance took her from the doctors to the hospital. The surgeon came out and said to her, well, you've got severe cancer, and we can start treatment right away, but really, I think you've only got a few weeks to live. And that was almost 10 years ago.
Wow.
And so that's exactly the same story. It's just my neighbor, just a very nice lady who treats me like gold. My neighbors are absolutely wonderful. They never complain about noise or anything like that. They put up with all kinds of things going on here. And that happened to her just the way it happened to Stephen Hawking. So there are times when I believe that you have to take responsibility, and you also have to be stubborn and go, yeah, for you, that might happen to you, but I don't have time. I've got things to do. So,
Okay.
yeah, I'm glad the way the song has worked out, and I hope people understand it the same way that you have.
Right. And I want to talk also about your live album from last year, Live in Czech, where you play a lot of the songs from the trilogy, but also some selected Iron Maiden cuts. That was recorded in 2019, I believe, which now seems an eternity
Yeah,
ago. Right? Yeah.
yeah.
One of the
Well,
things, yeah, go ahead.
my dream for live. I'm tiny. I'm just a very, very small artist. I'm completely independent. I'm supported by my fans. People go to my shop online. They come to my shows. I'm not trying to play stadiums. I've done all of that. I'm not trying to be a big thing with a big artist with big shows and all of that. I'm happy the venues that I play. I just want to go back to and sing my new songs. That's
Mm.
it. It's a very, very simple. But in the old days, and I'm so old, in the old days when heavy metal was only in theaters
Mm.
and an occasional festival, and that's like the most is like 3,000 people, but generally speaking, from 800 to 3,000 people. And what happened was bands would sell out.
Mm.
And so they would do 2 nights at the same venue, 3 nights. Iron Maiden did 8 nights sold out at Hammersmith Odeon. It was the record until
Wow.
Riverdance. And so we had such great memories of those days. And I said to my manager, you know what I really want to do is we sold out a couple of gigs on the previous tour. And I said, if we sold out, that means we could do 2 nights. I said, ask the owner and the promoter if we can do 2 nights next time. And we could. Oh man, it's so good because you're there, you're in the same place for 2 days, you get extra rest. Oh, and it was just so good. And my next tour was building up to be the same.
Hmm.
So I had 2 nights at one club in Germany and 2 nights at Czech Republic in Brno at Molodka. And it was like, oh, this is fantastic, you know. And what I wanted to do years ago was a live album at the end of every tour. Because what happens is you go into the studio, you'll rehearse, you'll record, you'll do the best job that you can. And then the songs that you play live, they'll start coming to life. They'll start having their own character. They'll start fitting into their own groove, and they'll have a different feeling, just a subtle different feeling. And what I wanted was that you got the studio album, you saw the tour, and then you had the live album, which was the set
Right.
list from that tour. So you could go, oh yeah, that was the great night, you know. So that's what, and that's what we did.
Okay.
And it's challenging doing a live album, very
Yeah.
challenging because so much has to be right on the night. It's a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
think I don't have anything to do with the mixing. or the production of the live album. I do have something to do with the set list and all of that. But Chris produces the live albums, Chris Appleton. I leave it completely to him. And he goes for this rawness. Not to get it too polished or anything, but just like, right, what is the feeling of being there? It's not perfect. It's not too polished. It's what is it like to be at a Blaze Bayley gig? What's the vibe? How can we get the essence of being with Blaze Bayley at a gig into an album? And I think he's done great with those live albums. You know, they're different, but I think what he's done is absolutely great. And if you sit down and you can mellow out, you can get excited and get a great vibe and a good feeling from those albums. I think that's a good thing. I think he's done a great job with those.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed, you sing the Iron Maiden songs from your catalog, and even like Wasted Years, you sing better than when you were in the band. And I think they're tuned one step down. Did it occur to you to have this idea when you were in the band, or not?
That could never happen.
No?
So it's just a sadness, really, that didn't
Yeah.
happen. Yeah. So what I like to do, I could never do Wasted Years when I was in Maiden. So in situations like that, what I've done is my own versions of those songs,
Yeah.
and I've done a lot with Thomas Fyson, the classical guitarist, and Anna Backer, the classical violinist, and I have an classical acoustic album called December Wind, which has got a lot of these on. And Thomas Fyson has got some of these songs on his albums, and there's some nice videos as well that go with those. So, you know, I'm happy really with where I am. I had a wonderful time in Iron Maiden, incredible experience. I learned so much. It gave me a huge amount of confidence in my ability as a songwriter and a musician. And that's never left me, really. So I've been very lucky, and I was treated very, very well when I left the band. I got no complaints whatsoever. I sometimes talk to Steve on the phone and, you know, see how he's doing. So, you know, I've got no bad feelings at all. I look back 25 years now, 20 odd years. I look back on that experience as a crazy but wonderful time in my life. And I think without that experience, those 5 years, those 2 albums, I wouldn't be where I am now. You know, I wouldn't be a fully independent artist. I wouldn't have the confidence to do 3 albums at once, almost. You know, I would never have had that if I hadn't had that experience of being in Iron Maiden. And because Iron Maiden is so famous and so big, people often make the mistake of thinking that's the biggest thing in my career, but it's not. It's a really big thing that happened 20 something years ago. The really big things that have happened to me are the albums I've made after, and the struggles I've had, and getting to this album, War Within Me. This is something that is incredible, impossible to do, but we've done the impossible, so we carried on doing it anyway. You know, it's I have a saying that doesn't make sense, that I drag out whenever I need to remind myself that that it can be done, and that is, if it was impossible, it couldn't be done. To remind myself that I have actually done what people considered to be impossible. Well, actually, you can't do it. That's impossible. And the answer to that is, for you, it might be.
but I've done it, right? So yeah. And I have a question about Wolfsbane. Your
Yeah,
voice, I
we're
think.
working on a new album,
Oh, are
bit
you?
by bit. Yeah,
Cool.
because of all of the lockdown and everything, we've had a few ideas. We've done a demo of one song. Jeff's written quite a bit. Jace has done quite a bit. Steve's bought a brand new electronic drum kit to do all the beats and everything. So now the album is finished. My album's finished. I'm doing interviews and I'm writing the Infinite Entanglement book.
Oh,
And
cool.
things calm down when I get most of that done, then I'll be full time on my Wolfsbane album. I'm very excited about the
Awesome.
next Wolfsbane album, and it's something I'm really looking forward to. Again, it's very weird because normally just we get together and just kick a few ideas around, and then suddenly, with the genius of Jace Edwards, then it becomes an album.
Hmm.
And Jeff will have half an idea, and Oliver, and suddenly we've got an album. But because we couldn't get together, it's been a lot more challenging
I
than it
see.
ever has been. So, but we're going to get it done. I'm very excited. There will be a new Wolfsbane album, and it'll be as good as all the other ones. And when the four of us get together, it's just a certain sound that we make, and that's Wolfsbane. It's not. It doesn't sound like anything that I do in my solo albums. It
Yeah.
just sounds like Wolfsbane, and it's some chemistry that happens when the four men are together. So everybody's still alive. So we want to make another album while we are.
Right. And last question for me. I know everything is more or less at a standstill right now, but what kind of conversations have you been having with promoters, if at
I
all,
don't
these days?
have any conversations like that. I hate
Mm.
business. My manager is incredible, the best manager I've ever had. He has supported me and he made it possible. When I said I want to do 3 albums in 3 years with 3 tours, he said, well, that sounds like a lot of work. He didn't say it can't be done. So I've learned over the years, I've had many ups and downs. I've been broke. I've worked day jobs after Iron Maiden. I spent all my money on trying to make it in a band and I failed. And Silicon Messiah failed. 10th Dimension failed. Blood and Belief failed. So I never got anywhere. And I just started from nothing again and again. And now with my manager, we have quite a simple relationship. I fully understand that when it comes to business, I'm rubbish. And when it comes to business, he is very good. When it comes to writing songs and performing, I'm very good. That's how we have it. So I don't have nothing to do with business. All I say is, as soon as it's possible, we'll be back.
Okay.
Nobody could know what's happening. The thing at the start of all of this, my friends sent me some things that World Health Organization was saying, and they said if anybody thinks they're going to have live concerts before 2021, they're deluding themselves. And that was
Yeah.
true. That happened.
Hmm.
So we all were going, oh, maybe at Christmas, maybe as the year goes on. So for me, my philosophy is try to live now. Plan for the future, because if you get there, you want something good to be happening.
Yeah.
But try to live now, make the most of the moments that I have now. You don't know what's around the corner. You just Bad things can happen, difficult things can happen, storms can come. You just don't know. be here and try to make the most of it and try to do the best that I can to get through each day. So when live concerts start again, when we're able to do that again, I dream of singing these new songs to my fans. I dream of it, man. I dream of it. It's one of the most incredible feelings that I've ever experienced. And if the government knew about it, they would tax it. Because when you write a song and you've put everything into it and you take it onto the stage and you put it out in front of the people that it was for and they sing it back to you, it's just humbling. It's incredible. And I'm so lucky to be able to have that experience. It's just incredible. So I'm dreaming of that, but I'm not living for it. I'm trying to live now. I'm trying to write a book and finish my trilogy with a book that's reasonable to tell the whole story of all the different characters in the trilogy and how it comes together and what's happening behind the scenes. So, and then do a Wolfsbane album. That's the near future. And you know, sometimes in the fantasy world, I think what it would be like to play a concert again. But I've got to write a book, I've got to make a Wolfsbane album, and I've got to promote the hell out of this album. Yeah. And I hope that my fans will like it.
Well, I'm sure they will. I'm a fan, and I can tell you it's one of your finest hours for sure.
Oh, thank you very much. Right. It's very kind of you.
Blaze, it's been an honor to talk to you. I think it's been one of the highlights of my journalistic career. Thank you so much. All the best with the new album, War Within Me.
Thank you very much for having me. We'll see you next time, and good luck. Stay safe. Cheers.
Cheers, man. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. We have come to the very, very end. After this song, I am not going to the dressing room. I am going over to the merch, to the t-shirts. And if any one of you wants something signed, if you want a photo, that is where I will be until this club closes. Because I want to say thank you to every one of you personally. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being with us on this very special evening. And thank you for making this a fucking great night. Cheers. Thank you so much. When I was down, when I had no record deal, when I had nothing, you emailed me. You wrote me letters saying, carry on. You created the man who would not die.